you realize how the busyness of life can happen.
And you start to do a lot of things separately.
My ex said to me, and it broke my heart. Like, regardless of how he was to me and what we experienced, he experienced this. And I was like, wow, that broke my heart.
Aww.
Because he was like, you would cook a meal for us and you would feed us and you would go to your office.
Wow.
And I never knew.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I never knew that bothered him.
Wow.
And I'm thinking like, you guys are good.
I cooked. I did my job.
Yeah. Like,
ooh-wee.
And I didn't think you guys wanted me here anyway. You know, I thought you just wanted me to cook.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why that made me so,
yeah.
like, God,
yeah.
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I wish I had a standard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think, and for a man too, but like, I wish he would have set the standard.
Yeah,
I wish he would have been like,
this is what we're doing as a
eat
family at the table.
Yeah, come eat. Like, what are you
with
doing?
Your children and your husband.
Yeah, but I thought because I did
that,
I did my job. You wanted me to cook?
Man, that's tough. That was from the Know For Sure podcast. The co-host Megan, she was talking about her recent divorce that she went through. And I think that she was extremely strong in sharing that because it's tough to go through that publicly. But I think the strength in her showing that her vulnerability allows everybody who's in a marriage right now to actually learn from what she just shared. And I get what she's saying. Like, this happens in marriages a lot where there's so many things going on in your life. You struggle to prioritize your marriage, whether that be starting a business, having a podcast, having kids. There's so many things going on in life that if you're not intentional about prioritizing your marriage, you can slowly start to grow apart from each other without even knowing. I know when we look at the research, it says in order for you to have the minimum to have a healthy and happy marriage, couples have to spend at least 6 hours together a week. So right now, a lot of couples are not doing that. You may be in the same vicinity, you may be in the same house,
right?
But you're not being intentional about sitting down and actually spending time together.
Yeah.
So that was tough to hear, but I think that she provided a lot of valuable insight.
Yeah, I think it was it was very touching to hear her say that, just because, especially with her saying that she didn't know or think that they wanted her there, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get in the role or the mindset of, oh, I just have to do this, right? This is my duty. Like she was saying, oh, I'm here. The house needs to be clean. I'm cleaning the house. Y'all need to be fed. I'm feeding y'all. And you don't really think like, well, they need me to sit down or they need me in those moments. But I think it is so important to have those moments where you can sit down and connect with your family, because so much can be discussed, right? Even, for instance, with her finding out, like, you know, okay, if I had sat down and I would have opened the conversation up maybe for us to say, you know what, I enjoy you sitting with us. I enjoy this time for us talking. Maybe we should do this more often, right? I think a lot of times when we are so consumed by the roles that we play, the titles that we wear, the jobs that we have to do, that we miss those small opportunities to really connect with our family. And it could go a long way. And so I definitely understand and feel for her in that, because I know it's very easy to do.
Yeah. And she brought us something that I think is very important. She said that she wished her ex would have said something about it. And I believe it was in last episode where we talked about two factors that increase loneliness in marriage is conflict and self-disclosure avoidance. We don't like to bring up certain things because we're trying to avoid conflict in our marriage. We don't want to really disclose to our partner what we yearn for, what we really want, because we're trying to avoid conflict. But a simple conversation where it's like, hey, I know you out there grinding, you doing your thing, especially with the podcast, and I appreciate you cooking for us, but can you sit down because we want to eat as a family? A simple conversation like that could have had a drastic change or drastic impact on their marriage if he would have disclosed what he actually needed from her during that time. And I think even sometimes with us, we don't always do that, but it's imperative. It's so important for us to handle conflict in the right way and to disclose to our partner what we need, because we have these hidden expectations or needs from our partner, and if we don't disclose them, they can't fulfill those needs. So it's really unfair to them.
Yeah. I think the big thing about what she was saying, a huge takeaway, is creating those opportunities for rituals of connection, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about this before as well with our habits of connection that we do. We're just like waking up in the morning and how we interact with each other, right? Some of those things, how that could look for you guys as well, is maybe if it is y'all going out for dinner, having certain nights that's designated or weeks that's designated for y'all going out to eat, so that y'all can sit down and be intentional at that dinner. Not, oh, we just going because we just want to eat, but no, this is our time to take out for us to either sit down as a couple, or if it is a family, and be intentional with talking to each other. Or even if it is just you two having those moments where date nights where it's like, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to take ourselves away from our, mom, dad role, work and everything, and really be in tune with each other and just have a good time. Also, like I said, the waking up in the morning, when you wake up first thing in the morning and you're able to embrace your partner and just say good morning and hug them and let them know, like, I love you, like, it starts your day off the right way, right? And so I think those are just a few rituals of connection where you can be intentional with your partner and use that as an opportunity to grow and better learn your partner as well.
Yeah, I know before we even saw this, we had made the decision maybe a couple of months ago where it's like we're eating dinner as a family. Like, I know we have a lot of stuff going on, but this is something that we need to do, not only for our relationship, but for the parent-child relationship, our relationship with our children, to sit down and talk about how their day is going. I think another habit of connection that every couple should do is has those stress-reducing conversations at the end of the night where you just sit down and you just talk about each other's day. A stress that you're facing that's not induced from the relationship, but just from maybe it's your job, maybe it's running a podcast. You sit down and say, hey, what kind of stress have you been dealing with today? And then just be a listener. Like, let them vent to you, let them talk about, don't try to solve it unless they asking you to solve it, but just be somebody that they can just release that stress to. And then you just wrap up the question like, hey, how can I help tomorrow be less stressful for you? Right. So just by having that one ritual of connection where you're having that stress reducing conversation at the end of the night, that may take 30 to an hour. And that's what you got a sixth of, if it's an hour, you got a sixth of the 6 hour minimum out the way. So just be cognizant, be cautious that you're making sure you're hitting that 6 hour minimum per week, that you're actually spending time with your family, so you can avoid this challenge that Megan just spoke about that a lot of married couples face.
Yeah. And one thing about us creating the habit of eating dinner together as a family, I think it's very important that when you do it together as a family, like if it is your spouse and your children, but also if someone is not in the household, to still do that. Because I noticed with us doing that, Arya, there's been times where she's eating, I'm still holding Amaya, trying to do stuff around the house. She's like, Mom, you gonna come eat with me? And so I think just having those connections and those habits forming, it's like, okay, it's an expectation for other individuals in your household. They're thriving for it. They're looking forward to having that moment to sit down and talk about their day or talk about what's going on with them personally. So I think just it shows up in different ways where it's like, okay, this is really making an impact. So I think that's why it's really important for you to be intentional with those connections.
Yeah. And I think that me and you decided to do that because it wasn't our norm. We didn't have a habit. I didn't grow up eating dinner with my family.
Yeah.
Like, that was just extremely foreign to me. I didn't understand the benefits of it. So, of course, you're going to bring into your relationship what you were shown or what you did when you were younger with your family. And since we didn't have that as children, we would come in, you just get your kids the food, you had the TV on or be on the phone or whatever, but we had to sit down where it's like, it's no TV, no phones at the table. We got to sit down and really talk as a family and really share what we're going through. And I think that it has, been a huge positive change for us.
Yeah.